Okay, so everybody can, I'm assuming if you can give me a thumbs up, if you can see the logo Arts and Minds on the screen, that'd be great. Okay,
We're good. We're good.
so thank you, everybody. Good to see you all here today. My name's Tony Gonzalez, and I'm an educator with Arts and Minds. And I also do community outreach for the organization. And we like to say that at Arts and Minds, we harness the power of art to inspire and engage people with dementia and their care partners. And our programs are always free to the public. No one has ever had to pay for one of our programs. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you all here today is because we're expanding to community centers and senior centers in Harlem right now. Our approach based on experience in the fields of art, dementia care, and adult learning is to produce arts-based workshops that enhance verbal and nonverbal communication, reduce stress, and build community. I want to stress that our programs are not just for people who have memory loss, dementia, or Alzheimer's, but they are for the people who have memory loss plus their care partners. So if you notice in the picture over on the right, the gentleman with the brown baseball cap, that's his wife sitting to his right, and to his left is his aide. And the same over here on the left, you have a gentleman.
We don't see that. Sonny, we don't see that. I don't see the guy with the cap. Maybe it's just
from
see
the...
We're looking at the board of directors.
Yeah, I see the 5 people in green. Maybe it's further up.
Well, what are you looking at? A slide that looks like an art
It
class?
says board of directors. There's 5 people on it in green, a green border.
Well, that's strange. So what are you looking at now?
The board of directors, James, Olajiti, Sean
No.
Collins.
On my screen, I'm looking at the logo, and then I changed to slide number 2, and it's a classroom. So,
Hold on a second.
oh, it says somebody has paused my screen sharing. According to my screen, it says your screen sharing is paused. So I'm going to click resume share and see what happens.
Or maybe stop sharing and do it over again.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and we'll take it from the top. Okay. Share screen. And oh, I see what you're looking at. Interesting.
Now we can see your front screen.
Interesting. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me see what I can do here. Here we go. Okay, so now you see the logo?
Yeah, Arts and Minds.
Okay, good. So now we're at the second. Now you see the classroom?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So it looks like we're good to go now. I'm not sure what happened there. It was a little glitch. So anyway, where I was at was that our programs are for not just for people with dementia or Alzheimer's or some form of memory loss, but it's also for people for their care partners. Or the gentleman over on the right with the brown baseball cap, he's the gentleman with dementia here, and to the right is his wife, to his right, and to his left is his aide. So, and then over here, the white gentleman is sitting with his aide. So people come sometimes alone. This particular program is at Morningside Retirement and Health Services on LaSalle Street near Broadway. And we've been with them for 2 years. It accommodates about 12 people. We have other programs that accommodate up to 20 or so. So I was saying about how our approach based on experience in the fields of art and dementia care and adult learning is to produce arts-based workshops. And our workshops enhance verbal and nonverbal communication, reduce stress, and build community. I'll give you a little bit of history, and that is the lady on the left is Carolyn Halpin Healy. She's my boss and one of our founders. The white gentleman on the right side is Dr. James Noble. He is the other one of our founders. And Carolyn Halpin Healy was a lecturer and educator at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. She continues to be to this day, but in 2009, 2010, she developed a program for adults with dementia. And Dr. Noble was working out of Harlem Hospital. He's a neurologist and his patients with dementia were attending her program and reporting back to him what wonderful experience it was for them. So he decided to investigate. And when they met, Arts and Minds was born. The gentleman, Dr. Williams, on the right is our vice president of the board. I always like to mention this book that was produced by Dr. James Noble, which is a wonderful guide, because part of our mission is to get information out there to the public, because there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of fear around dementia, and we're trying to educate the public as to tools that are available for them when they have a family member with the disease. People with dementia need to be engaged. The brain is like a muscle that needs to be exercised. Although there's no cure for dementia, experts the consensus is amongst experts that there are tools available that can delay the onset and slow the progress. And we like to think that Arts and Minds workshops are one such tool. We start with an image like the one on the left. This is a museum program at El Museo del Barrio. And we start with an image as a catalyst for what we call a collective journey of discovery. It's not art history, it's not a techniques class, although both art history and understanding how to use the materials, they're all certainly part of what gets explored. They're not the focus, nor the main point. It's about the journey. It's about more so than the destination even. The point is to cultivate moments of engagement. Now, I'm going to try to keep this brief, but if anybody has a question and wants to interrupt me, please feel free to do so. In our programs, we have a freewheeling conversation that's open to creative digressions, and participants, of course, bring their own experience and associations into the conversation. So how do we do that? Now, at a museum, we set up chairs around a work of art. We partner with the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Studio Museum in Harlem, El Museo del Barrio. We've partnered with the Schomburg Center and the Jewish Museum and the Museum of the City of New York. And we have access to their archives as well. So when we do a program in person at a community center, we have a large flat screen TV where you can look at the image like we're looking at it on this screen right now. And so this is an example of an artist you might know. His name is Romer Bearden. And I like to use this image because it kind of feels like what it is and has lots of interesting details that sort of tell a story. And so we ask the simple question of a group of participants, what do you see? And then we take it from there. The beauty of looking at a projected image as opposed to being at a museum is that we can zoom in as close as we want. Now, you can't do that in a museum. If you do this in a museum, people are going to tap you on the shoulder and say, excuse me, sir, step back from the painting, right? But we can zoom in on the details and we could isolate parts of the painting to further enhance where our conversation takes us. So all of these images for our presentation for an in-person program are very carefully curated to tell a particular story. And of course, ultimately, we reveal the name of the artist. In this case, is Romer Bearden, and this piece is called Jammin' at the Savoy. Now, some of you might know that the Savoy was an actual place.
Yes.
And you know, each time I have conducted a workshop and used this image, I've had people who were participants who said, I was there. And it's really exciting for them to to see this image and to imagine themselves in that crowd. The Savoy was this very, as again, I'm sure many of you know, because it was a huge landmark in its day. And
Right.
people like Ella Fitzgerald got their start there. She was the house vocalist there after having won at the age of 17 a show at the Apollo. She went on to be the house vocalist at the Savoy. So we try to create dynamic images so that people can get excited about what they're experiencing. So the Lindy Hop was invented at the Savoy. Yeah. Okay. You see there, those feet are not even touching the ground there.
Right, yeah.
And then every image has an infinite number of stories to tell, and not the least of which is the story behind the image about the artist. And in this case, Romare Bearden was from Harlem royalty. His mother was a journalist who knew all of the people in the Harlem Renaissance. And so he'd have at their dinner table, they'd have all the illustrious members of the Harlem Renaissance. He was a musician, Romare Bearden, a professional jazz musician. He was a professional athlete in the Black Baseball League. In fact, before Jackie Robinson, Romare Bearden was offered a contract with a white baseball team in Philadelphia to play professionally on the condition that he not tell anybody he was Black. And he declined it. So anyway, these details create an exciting, hopefully an exciting journey for the people in the workshop. And then we try to inspire art making by asking what we call a motivating question. And because the quote from Romare Bearden is, you sing on the canvas, you improvise, you find the rhythm and catch it good and structure as you go along, then the song is you. Now, that's his approach to making art. So considering that approach, we ask our participants, how would you improvise your song using mixed media collage materials? And then we make art. And here's just a quick example of the kinds of materials that we use. A lot of mixed media collage and watercolors and oil sticks. And then after we make art, then we have a little gallery exhibition. We put the art on the wall and we talk about the art that we made. I'm going to share with you some sobering statistics. Over 6 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's. In fact, this statistic is a year or two old, so it's more than that at this stage. And 1 in 3 seniors dies with Alzheimer's or some other dementia. It kills more people than breast cancer and prostate cancer combined. And then in our community, among Black Americans aged 70 and older, 21.3% are living with Alzheimer's. And older Black Americans are twice as likely as older whites to have Alzheimer's. And in my community, I'm a Hispanic, I'm Mexican American. Older Hispanic Americans are 1.5 times as likely. Now, it's poorly understood why that's the case. There's speculation that it has to do with basically systemic inequities. And once you correct for those, the numbers even out quite a bit. But the reason I wanted to mention this is because we're dealing with fear and stigma in our community because people don't understand the disease. And there's a couple of things that come into play. In my community, in the Latino community, I know people who think, well, people get old, they start forgetting stuff, you know, and they don't seek out the services that maybe their loved one could take advantage of. And then people who might be afraid of having the disease don't want to admit publicly that maybe they have it. And so maybe they're not inclined to join a program like ours, where they would be admitting publicly that they're participating in a program for people with dementia. And, you know, considering those statistics, you know that within a mile of where you're sitting right now, there's 100 people with dementia, advanced dementia, sitting like this in front of televisions, right? And that's really sad, because they should be getting services that are available to them. And that's the main reason why I was wanting to share our presentation with you, because our goals include connecting with people and families in uptown communities who are living with dementia. Right now, we have several partnerships in Harlem. The one I mentioned at Morningside Retirement and Health Services, but we're also in conversation currently at Riverbank State Park and at Manhattanville Community Center, where we hope to start pilot programs in those two locations very soon. So we're trying to cultivate collaborative partnerships with older adult and community centers. And we're trying to find a location where we could have a community hub where people who have learned something about our programs and what their needs are would just know that every Wednesday there's a program for people with dementia at 2 o'clock at such and such a place, and it's always there and it's always free. That's our dream, which brings me to my my closing is this is the first time this past year that we've been offering programs in the community as opposed to at museums. I mean, we also during the pandemic offered online programming, and that continues every Monday and Tuesday at 2 o'clock. But when I was hired as an educator and then to do community outreach, I was really shocked at how challenging it's been to get people to come out and join our programs, because they don't want people to know that they have the disease. And I've had this conversation with each partner that we've had along the way in the various community centers and senior centers. They say, yeah, I know people who can use your program, and I don't know that they're going to join. And then once we establish ourselves and we open up a pilot program to the general public, not just for people with dementia, but to anybody who wants to come, then they come. And then it becomes a habit, and then a lot of the stigma is reduced. So that's the struggle that we've been having. I would love to propose to you all here at CB9 that we would happily do a sample workshop for everyone in the Senior Issues Committee. If we could find a venue, and all we need is a room with a flat screen TV and a table where we can make art. Because what we want to do is get people to understand what we do experientially, so that they can help us get the word out, and of course help us find community partners and help us locate a venue that could act as a hub. So that's what I got today, and I really appreciate you letting me take some of your time here. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to take them. Yes. I'm going to stop sharing so I can hear. Yes.
Oh, that's me? Yes. Is dementia connected with the foods that may have been provided back in the days, you know, the genetically modified that been researched back then, and now all of a sudden they mention it now like it's something new, but they've been modified. They've been stopped natural agriculture, not only in America, but all around the world. And I just want to know, is that a connection with the receptors in the brain being blocked, the neurons being blocked by certain chemical ingredients that's inside these GMOs that running with a crew of 3, and your sprayed food is ran by 4, and you can barely find nine foods that naturally you can consume and receive alkaline.
Uh-huh. Well, I'm sorry, what's your name?
Carlton Davis.
Oh, of course, Carlton Davis. I would hesitate to give the impression that I know more than I do. I'm an educator, and I do community outreach. I'm not a physician. The only thing I would say is that they have found a connection to the microbiome and dementia. But beyond that, I would hesitate to pretend to know more than I do. So I'm sorry I can't answer your question better in a more satisfying way.
And just one more thing, finding out that people with dementia are not showing up on EKG or scans, that it may be just environmental. The changes that from the suburban manner to what we see now is a blow to anyone who's walking on this planet, including myself. I'll be 60 in 60 days.
You're a youngster.
Right. Only an age number. But you know about the 40s and 30s and all that coming up with depression and all that, and have knowledge of that. That 60 means nothing right now. I'm dealing with knowledge that is known to happen for real. That's why. But there's a large percentage of us as seniors and seniors to be that is not registering. So can it be also environmental that you may have knowledge of in your educational outreach?
Like I said, I really think it would be irresponsible of me to speculate because I'm not a doctor. But there's so much information out there, and they're making a lot of progress from month to month. You may have read some of the studies or about some of the studies they've been conducting recently. So I'm sorry if I'm not, if my answer is not very satisfying to you, but I do appreciate the question.
Yeah,
Yes,
hi,
I think another
Mr.
question.
Gonzalez.
State your name so they know.
Lydia Gerson.
Uh-huh.
Hi, Mr. Gonzalez.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about yourself, what your background is, how you got into this, or to be the head of it, and so forth.
Yes, of course. Thank you for the question, Olivia. I've been an educator for many years. Some of you might know that I was the director, I should say the manager of the education department of Sugar Hill Children's Museum for 5 years. And Carolyn Halpin Healy partnered with us. Arts and Minds partnered with the museum education department. And that's how I got to know them. And I was very impressed with the work they did. And then when the pandemic shut us down at the museum, I called Carolyn because I really, my natural habitat is in front of a classroom as an educator. And I've worked with all ages from pre-K all the way through seniors, at the polo grounds, for example. I've worked with people with disabilities and with special needs. And so I was so impressed with how they structured their workshops that I was eager when the museum shut down the museum to see if they needed somebody. And Carolyn was thrilled that I was interested, and I haven't looked back. So that's how I came to work at Arts and Minds.
I have a question. It's Walter T. Alexander.
Yes, Walter.
As someone who is getting ready to go into another decade tomorrow, I'll be 70 years old tomorrow.
Well, bravo.
I know that lately I'm having issues with remembering names, just names, not necessarily dates, stuff like this, just names. So we had our senior resource fair last year. One of the ladies from Columbia came and was talking about enrolling into clinical trials, okay? And that's a good thing. I know a lot of people are skeptical of doing things like that. See, I'm skeptical. I did the clinical trial because I wanted to know where I was at, because I want to know if, because as you say, dementia slash Alzheimer's is a progressive thing.
Right.
So I just wanted to see where I was at. So I was told I did forget, because they asked you, like, remember 5 things, like they told the president, those 5 things that he was so happy that he remembered. But it was, they'll tell you something.
Somebody told them to
Yeah,
answer.
probably did. But they'll tell you, they said, okay, they'll tell you about 5 words, okay? And then 10 minutes later, remember the 5 words. And you'd be surprised how difficult it is to remember. You may remember 1 or 2 of them. But anyway, I espouse taking the clinical trial, because I just want to be, and my thing is, he was talking about, like, in the back in the day, I really like the music from the actually 50s, 60s, and 70s, and 80s, 90s and 100. But if you put on a record from back in those days, I can tell you where I was, who I was
Yeah.
hanging out with, who I was what. That to me brings me back. So I told friends around me, I said, if it
Play
seems like
music.
I'm losing it,
Play music.
put a song on. Put a song on for me. It may help me bring myself back. But this is so, we're doing the resource fair again in May 10th. You may not be able to do a presentation, but I would love you to come speak to the seniors that will be at the forum, but I'll send the information to you. And I really thank you for coming. This is very good information.
I want to ask someone, somebody else.
There's one more person who has another
I
question.
just one more question. This is also important because I think it's lent itself to my mother's decline, lack of physical movement. So I don't know if dance is part of Arts and Minds, because without that physical movement, the brain dies with it. Yeah, you gotta keep going. So is there dancing?
We have about a dozen very highly trained educators, and each one of them has a different style. But most of us begin each program by having people move and do icebreakers using their bodies to warm up and their voices. And we also incorporate a lot of music into the program because, like Walter was saying, music can really be an anchor back to the day. I know people who have had dementia who perk right up when they hear certain songs, and it makes them more animated. People with dementia need to be engaged, but we all need to be engaged. That's something that we all need in our lives, but particularly people with dementia, because their loved ones start thinking that they're not there anymore, when in fact they're still there, quite in a very complex way. They still have their identities. They just might not be able to express it in the normal way that they used to. So there's that.
Tony, someone put in the chat, are the programs only open to those people who have been specifically diagnosed with dementia, or as a way to postpone and delay its onset? Are the programs open to all
He said
seniors?
no, they are.
No, they are a pilot program like the one we're going to start in the summertime at Riverbank State Park. We've already discussed this with Jared Leake, the director of the park, and we're going to open it up to everybody for at least the first sequence, because our experiences were more likely to get people with dementia coming to a program where it's not just people with dementia.
Right.
And then the last part of it, I'm sorry, the last part of it was, also please repeat when the online sessions are.
Yes, if you go to the website, it's artsandminds.org. You'll see, you can find the schedule of programs. Every Monday and Tuesday at 2 o'clock, there are online programs that can be accessed virtually through Zoom. And then we regularly have programs at the major museums, and like I said, we're promoting our in-person programs now uptown and trying to cultivate those partnerships.
Anyone else have any questions?
So
Okay,
I'm
Yes,
sorry,
sir.
Walter. Walter, I'd just like to reiterate the one thing I wanted to leave you all with, and that is that one of our functions is to educate the public, but I would happily, if there was some way to facilitate a workshop for you all and anybody in the community who wanted to come. And I'm not sure what sort of space they might have, like at West Harlem Development Corporation or there at CB9. I would love to do that because I think having the experience of being in the classroom and seeing how we proceed to do what we do would help people be motivated to partner with us in getting the word out to the community. So if there was an opportunity for that, I'd be open to hearing it. And we don't have to, give us a definitive yes or no now, but I just want to put that out.
Let's stay in touch.
Okay, great.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Ramkasoon, your show.
Good morning, everyone. Thankful to be here with you again. I feel like we just left each other.
Last night.
But yeah, thank you, Mr. Davis, for inviting me out to share our work at Youth Justice Network with the team here. For a couple of you who were present last night, some of this may be a little bit repetitive, but I think the majority of us weren't present last night. So I'm thankful to present. My name is Messiah Ramkisoon. I serve as the Associate Executive Director of Strategic Planning and Community Partnerships at Youth Justice Network. Youth Justice Network, we were founded 34 years ago on the school floor of Rikers Island, founded under the name Friends of Island Academy. Recently, maybe about 3 years ago, we changed our name to Youth Justice Network because we felt that better reflects who we are and our mission as an organization. But we were founded as the first organization in New York City to focus exclusively on 16 to 24-year-old court-involved youth. While it was still legal prior to the raise the age law, while it was still legal for children, 16 and 17-year-olds to be in an adult jail, there were no services focused on children when they came home. So quite naturally, they were coming home to worse conditions, coming back to prison to do more time, all found under worse conditions. And that's why the principal of the school, which was on Rikers Island Academy, branched out and founded Friends of Island Academy to be that first intervention force for 60 to 24-year-old young people coming out of incarceration. Fast forward 34 years later, we've expanded tremendously in our work. It's a lot much more compartmentalized in terms of the services that we offer. We serve young people in all 5 boroughs, not just those coming out of Rikers, but also some coming out of juvenile detention, some coming from upstate facilities. And we do this mainly through our youth advocacy model. I would say our youth advocacy is really the hub, the nucleus of our work. Some people refer to it as case management, but we use the term youth advocacy because we feel like it adds more of a humane element to the work, right? And so pretty much our team is on Rikers weekly, connecting with young people in the housing areas, building trust with them. Each young person that we work with has their own advocate. That's their point person. They work with that young person to create a youth plan. They also connect with the families and the pertinent people in that child's life. And so that youth plan really goes into effect the minute they're released. The same advocate you connect with within the first 24 to 72 hours of incarceration, and that connects with you weekly, comes into Rikers weekly to follow up and build trust and build relationship, is the same advocate that connects with you immediately upon release to community. That advocate serves as the bridge between that young person and whatever their respective needs and wants are. The need could be something as simple as a birth certificate, something as simple as an ID, to something more grandiose such as housing and or employment. Aside from our youth advocacy team, we also have a court advocacy team. They're not so much in Rikers, but they work in the courts. They work alongside the attorneys to expedite release to community and also to minimize the impact of certain charges, showing the judges in the courts that there are greater alternatives than incarceration to empower young people, and also factor in the inequities that a lot of these young people are dealing with based on the conditions that they come from. So aside from that, we have an employment services department. If you go around Rikers or you talk to young people in the streets, most of them are looking for jobs, right? And although a lot of them are looking for jobs, they may not be as ready for jobs. So it's not about just it's not about just achieving immediate benchmarks to say, hey, I got the young person a job, but it's really putting them on a pathway that allows them to be sustainable in the workplace. So they go through our job readiness program. We have a team of job developers and career specialists who work with them to prepare them. We also have partnerships that we curate with employers all throughout New York City. So when they're finished with the job readiness training, and we work with them on the resume, the interview skills, and they go out to interview, it increases the likelihood that they will get the job because these employers are already partners of Youth Justice Network. So if you know any companies out there that would love to be attached to this, please let us know. We also have an education department for young people who dropped out of high school and want to come back and get their HSC, which is once called the GED. We have a teacher on site who works there daily, and young people come to school at our site. Aside from that, I don't want to take too much time, but we offer a plethora of services. We have an arts and recreation department where young people are working through mediums of the art. We spoke about that last night at the presentation. But I just want to slow down a little bit and talk about another initiative that really was birthed out of the pandemic. So although our model traditionally has been inside out, meaning that we connect with them in the jails and follow up with them in the community, during the pandemic, Department of Corrections closed their doors to all service providers. So young people had no access to services in the jails. And we knew this was the worst time, right? During the pandemic where the needs are more heightened than ever. We know this is the worst time for young people to lose accessibility to support. So that's when we became innovative and we created a new initiative called Shifting Gears. Shifting Gears is a mobile bus that we purchased. We wrapped it up with our bright logo, says who we are, the services that we provide. And this bus now goes into a different borough each day of the week, into neighborhoods that most of our youth come home to, and pretty much brings the services to the doorstep of community. So we have an outreach team that works that bus. The outreach team are young people who are formerly incarcerated. They've been through our youth leadership training, and they're now employed full-time as staff out there doing the work. So we also really embrace empowering young people who have lived experience. A lot of them, when they come home, they think construction is the only thing they can do, right? So we like to show them the nuances of professionalism, that there are so much space out there to tap into. All of our young people are geniuses by nature, but just never really had the exposure or the resources to really nurture and develop that. And that's pretty much what our staff does. To the best of our ability, we have mentorship services for young people on probation that happens twice a week, so on and so forth. So I just wanted to give you guys a gist of who we are, what we do. We do have a Harlem office on the west side on 125th Street, 63 West 125th. We have Bronx office as well as a Brooklyn office. So we'd love to connect with you in whatever way possible to really add more fuel to these young people, more support in the name of community. We do believe there's a huge disconnect between the elders and the young, right? What we see is really an issue around public safety, where a lot of young people are coming home wanting to do the right thing. When they meet with an advocate like Mr. Messiah on the inside, they're really committed and sincere about positive change, but they're being put right back in the poisonous community. So it's almost like you're putting clean water in a dirty glass, right? It's fighting an uphill battle. So a lot of young people are coming back to communities that don't care that they made a positive change or want to make a positive change. The people who may have had beef with them before, may have want to kill them before, still feel the same way when they come home back to the same neighborhood. So I often use the example, if a person is a confidential informant, and I'm not giving my perspective on it, but the society finds resources to protect them and make sure that they're able to carry out their lives with a safe trajectory when they come home, right? Okay, cool. But now if they say they're going to commit to a positive life change and say, I'm going to sign up with Youth Justice Network, nobody protects them, so if they die in the process of leaving the program, they just send the mother some flowers and say, rest in peace to your child, and life goes on. So one of the fights that we're actually being more vocal about right now is the public safety conversation as it relates to the demographic that we serve. Oftentimes, public safety only applies in the conversation to white collar people, folks who go to work every day, pay taxes. But these young people who are trying to find their way are also a great part as it relates to need when we discuss public safety. A lot of young people don't want to carry a weapon, but they feel like they're unprotected, right? And so a lot of mothers feel like it's safer for their children to be in jail than to come home. So this is the battle that we fight. This is the work that we do. We have a very relentless team who go above and beyond the 40 hours a week. So I'm thankful to stay connected with you guys. I'll put our website in the chat. It's youthjustice.org, and we love to build community in whatever way that we can.
Thank you, thank you. You got a question?
Oh, I'm so excited about this. Let me just say a couple things. I worked at City College for many years. It's not the exact same situation, but we had a lot of students who didn't know how to behave in a college environment, okay? And I often said to my advisors, you have to act in local parentis. In other words, as if you're middle-class parents. And some of what you're doing is what middle-class parents and upper-class parents do for their children. And in terms of training them how to behave, how to respond, intervening if they're in trouble. And, you know, young boys get in trouble. I don't care what race or whatever. I mean, girls, but not as much as boys.
They do now.
Yeah. Now, so what you're doing is just superb. And I don't know how big it is. This is the first I'm hearing of it. Number two, are you in touch at all with the Fortune Society?
Yes, yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're one of the what they call community reentry providers. We're on that list, so we're all also connected to an aspect of the mayor's office called Mock J. You know, but yeah, Fortune is definitely one of our cousins in the work. You know, I have colleagues who work there. They're bigger in terms of this. They serve not just young people, but mainly adults.
Yeah, I know.
Our work
Yeah,
is mainly focused on the 16 to 24-year-old demographic. But yes, definitely very familiar with the Fortune Society. Yes, ma'am. And thank you for your words as well.
Oh, how are you funded, by the way, and how big is your program?
We're a staff of about 67 people. When I started here, we were a staff about I'm gonna say 25. But we're not that big, but we've definitely grown a lot. And I've been here for 12 years. And so like I said, we're a staff of about 67 people. Some of our funding comes from
67. Oh, 67. No, they said 6 or 7.
no, 67. And
Okay.
some of our funding comes from private sources, some of it government, but as you know, I mean, when I say government, I'm speaking mainly the mayor's office, but as you know, there's significant budget cuts coming from the mayor's office affecting not just the schools, but the nonprofit organizations as well, doing the youth work. So right now we find ourselves back on the ropes, really out there every day hunting for more resources. As you know, the resources that go into upkeep in the system is disproportionately different than the resources that are poured into dismantling. So every day we find ourselves fighting that battle. During the pandemic, unfortunately, we took budget cuts where we had to lay people off, unfortunately. And so, you know, but we're rejuvenating from that. But yeah, if there are any ways that, you know, we can further that conversation around resources, I would love to have it.
Yeah, we have to tax the rich too.
I have a question, but I want to see if anybody else has any comments or questions. Okay, seeing none, here we go. Thank you for coming to Arts and Culture too last night.
Sure.
I was talking with one of the members last night. We were talking about volunteering because she says it's a great program, and this is maybe how you can connect with some of those seniors. Before I go there, media. This new thing now with the subways and everything's happening on the subways, people getting pushed off the tracks, that scares people. So that's what makes, so as a Black man, people look at me sometime and they you know, yes, yeah. But for real, you understand what I'm saying? I got the bus the other day, this woman,
No, totally.
we were on the bus. I mean, I paid my fare, I got my bag. So I got the she went to the side and colored up. I'm on my way to a play. I'm trying to get there on time. But
Right.
this is so the media hypes people up to make people afraid of stuff. So this is why when you have good things, just like you and just like Tag last night, when you have positive things that's happening with you, none of this stuff is publicized. It's the first time I'm hearing about it. I'm a social worker. First time I'm hearing about this. I worked in a men's shelter for years, you know. So we had a lot of ones coming out of foster care and from the system. One of you guys was talking about the photography thing last night. I always wanted to learn how to operate a camera, so I would like to volunteer / take a camera lesson if that's possible. And also the young lady who I was talking to last night, I think she would be glad to come, and maybe we can bring this again with, where you can maybe just a small presentation at our senior thing, or maybe at another meeting, so we can try to link some of the seniors with the youth, and maybe bring some of the youth.
YEL too, why youth, I'm on the other committee, youth, education and literature, you should be coming to that.
Oh, that's another one, yeah, that's another
I'll
one.
give your information to the head of that, youth, education and
And
literature.
is it library, right?
Yeah,
library, yeah.
I would love to. I would love to. And as far as volunteering, we would love to have you. So I put my email in the chat. I put all my contacts in the chat. So feel free to just connect with me, and we would love to connect the dots. We need more elders from community present with our young people and just bridging that gap. So whatever way I can be a catalyst to support that, I'm 10 toes in. And I totally get where you're coming from as it relates to, you know, just the stigmas, you know, as you talked about riding the train. You know, even when I walk past the precinct, you know, I try not to pull my phone out because I don't want them to think I'm pulling the gun out. Then something crazy happens, right? But as a black man, as a black man, yeah, as a black man in America, this is just innate. This is just innate. You know, it's just innate. You know.
Yes. I want to thank you for coming and bringing it. So you have one more committee you have to come to: youth, education, and library.
Yes.
Let me know, and
because they
we'll be there.
Oh, you could get. We'll get. She'll get you. We'll get you the.
Yeah, we'll get you connected.
All right. I have a couple other folks on the line, and before I go there, I have 3 callers, 2 people who are. I know I see Miss Fletcher, but there's 2 callers that I see here with this numbers. Can you identify yourself so I can put you into the minutes, if you'd like, and if not, it's okay. I see with the numbers 789, and I can't see the other one over here.
047.
Okay, that's my Miss. What's the name? All right, and then I see Miss Morton. Are you representing a organization? Alexis Morton.
Hi, no,
Alexis,
I'm here. I live in Riverview Towers on 139th Street, and this is my first meeting. I'm here to see what you do. I'm thinking about getting involved.
Thank you. Please come again.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
yeah,
tell you
Alexis is my neighbor, and she's
Okay.
the former board. She's the former board chair at Riverview Towers, and an excellent
Okay.
and wonderful person. So I'm advocating for her. Hi, Alexis. Good to see you.
Thanks, Pat. Good to see you.
Okay. I see us. I hope I pronounced the name right. Serena Venkat.
Yes, you pronounced it perfectly.
Okay. Are you from an organization or are you just joining in?
I'm a reporter with Columbia Spectator.
Oh, good. Could you please put your information in the chat? Because, you know, we want to stay in touch with you as well.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Allman. Good to see you as always.
Mutual.
Good. Anything you want to present or just say share?
No presentation today, just glad to be here and unfortunately jumping in and out of the meeting for some things.
Okay, glad to have you. Let's see, we got Mr. Lopez. I see you put something in the chat. Would you like to say anything?
Hi everyone, I'm Lily Lopez from NY Connects. It's programs for people with any disability, any age. It's managed by Center Independence for the Disabled. I put my information on the chat. If you have any questions, you can contact me.
Well, I'd like you to come and speak at our next meeting next month. Would that be all right?
Of course, just let me know
Very
the
good.
date and time. Thank you.
Hello, Miss Barksdale.
Good morning, everybody.
Okay.
Or afternoon.
Yeah,
Sorry I'm late.
That's late, better late than never. And Mr. Wallace, thank you for coming back. Mr. Wallace is a former senior, he was senior issues member. Now we're senior action. He's coming in. Oh, that's Miss Gail Powell. That's my neighbor. Yeah. All right. So I guess we kind of can wrap it up now. I guess everything. That's the one that's everything said. Oh, new business. We have to start working on our thing because there's gonna be too much. Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to have the floor. I just want to bring
our attention to 2-4 St. Nicholas Place on February 23rd, had a fire. And it is a 6-story building with 36 units that had people hanging outside of on fire escapes. Because of, even though the dialogue in the news allows firemen to present, but too frequently in our neighborhood of color, they don't come that quickly. And they were people, there were 17 people who were injured. One man fell to his death hanging off the fire escape. Now, they had established immediately that a fire on the 3rd floor senior action committee, because a lot of my seniors are in that building, had to be relocated. They claimed that because of one fire, that the whole entire building must be vacated due to structural damages. Well, where the fire was, the person living next door, who I know personally, had no damage whatsoever. And also, as I reported to our chairperson, Victor Edwards, that this is the same building that had these bikes parked in front of them, and that we were trying to get something to happen that they could remove that. Therefore, they took the titanium batteries off the bike, brought them upstairs, and that is the causation of that fire. Now, we have a lot of issues here with this, and I would like for building and zoning to be involved with this situation. I'd like for the senior action committee to be involved with this situation. This is an issue of which many of our seniors, this is a very, very nice building. I'd like to know if this is a historical building in the Sugar Hill area. And I want to make sure that there is some action taken that they can commit to an expected time of restoration that these people may re-enter their residence.
Did you talk to the housing committee?
Well, I'm putting it out here for all committees from this committee.
Everybody.
And I will be in attendance to make sure that this particular issue is addressed.
What got me was, the fire was on the back of the building, the back side. Now, the fire escapes were there, but there was like, the next to them, there was like light, the building was like light color. It didn't look like they were attached to the fire escape.
Exactly, they were.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. They had, usually a fire escape goes to every apartment. You can get it from every apartment. But that side of the building would, had like a beige color that looked like it was a separate part of the building. Cause that, it was the young guy, that went to that college. That's the one that fell and died.
They have not specified and never let us know who died in that building, but every apartment, and this is the same issue that we're talking about with all of our buildings on Sugar Hill. They have, if you look at the pictures, those fire escapes were working, but they were not because of the smoke that permeated through the building. Everyone could not get to the fire escape. So therefore, people were coming out of the building because of the smoke. The elevator is an old elevator, but the landlord had not taken the steps. Everybody's paying their rent, but the landlord had not taken the steps to replace an antiquated model of an elevator. This is a building that at one time may have had a dumbwaiter, where in fact, usually where there is an elevator, there's also an incinerator. And now they don't have an incinerator, and the dumbwaiter is shielded. There are issues in that building, but structurally, and I have been in that building, and I have even worked as a city inspector. Maybe I wasn't looking for structural damages, but as far as I can see, there was none. So therefore, we must make sure, and there are a lot of people have lived there a long time. So we want to make sure that these people can move exponentially back into.
They're still outside of it, but it's still closed up, it's still vacated?
They vacated, they.
Right, the same day, I knew they did it the same
No,
day.
on that day, when the fire, they vacated all apartments above the second floor,
Uh-huh.
but there was not damage there. I'm
sorry.
I'd like to also let you know, Master, that I will be sending pictures of vacate notices. Also, the fact that the fire didn't go that far, it was smoke damage. It was smoke that got people jumping out of the building.
That was the same thing they had in the Bronx when all those people died.
That's exact same fire.
And what also was the same thing was the person who had the building, the apartment had the fire, they ran out and left the door open. See, we have, this week, a lot of people came to our senior resource last year, I hope they come again. They had to educate the community about if there is a fire, if you're running out, you gotta close the door behind you.
Most of the doors in that building have that automatic,
But that didn't work for that either.
That apartment that they had recently re-rented did not have that. In other words, that should have been done by the landlord before it was rented, but they didn't do that.
You have a question?
I'm sorry.
I was wondering if the building was like the brick and mortar had the wood floors or they had the newly renovated floor.
They only renovate apartments in that building when they want to increase the rent, and they have been, they'll keep an apartment empty. This is another, with a housing situation in New York City. They will, these landlords, they are, I'm not saying that this is, but this particular building will keep an apartment empty long enough and do renovations on that.
Yeah.
On that, but in fact, for the people that are there, while they have them out right now, and they have, since there's structural damage, I think they have enough time to upgrade all of those.
Because that's the point that I'm making.
Yes, sir.
That's the point that I'm making, even though if you had the old tenements, version of housing, even though the wood floors would bail out on you, implode, the structure always was still there.
This is an old structure. I want everybody to pull it up on the internet. It's a nice building. We're in a neighborhood on Sugar Hill that at one time during the early 1900s, we have like those buildings, even the hotel on the corner of 150th Street was a mansion. The one across the street from it was a mansion. Within the block that we're in, it was once a mansion. When we say Sugar Hill, we mean this is a middle-class working neighborhood of people of color.
My family is really there, Bradhurst and Edgewood.
I know the area.
Okay, so we are not the atypical, impoverished, uneducated people. We are hardworking people and deserve to live in a way which we have become accustomed to, and being Black have worked very hard to get this particular type of living.
I know the area. I saw all the fire trucks that day, because that was.
I'm sorry, you two have someone that wants to make, it's not a presentation. Do I have a question?
No.
See, it's not a presentation, but he wants to discuss what he's about to do. Come on. Okay. Come on, stand in front of the, yes, so people can see. Introduce yourself,
See him on the camera?
okay.
No.
No, you mean, come over this side, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's better.
Yeah, perfect. My name is John McGregor. This is my second meeting. I was here last night for the arts meeting. So I'm new to it, so thank you, Walter, for inviting me here and giving me a chance to speak. I'm a private individual, represent an organization, but I want to bring first-in-class bookstore to Harlem. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it sort of shocked me when thinking about it that Harlem really didn't have one. There's Revolution.
Yeah, that's what we had.
Which is, that's still there, but it's primarily left-wing, communist, socialist books, which is, what we don't want to read. And that's fine. But there's nothing like a general interest store where you can find a wide range of books with different interests, with different kinds of people. So say the father wants to read to his kids at night, you can get children's books. mother wants to help her daughter or her son prepare for college. There are SAT, PSAT, prep books and things along those lines. Or if you want to find out, more about the history of the neighborhood or history in general, there are books on history, there are novels, a wide range of books for all kinds of different tastes. So that's what I want to bring. And in thinking about it more, in thinking about it more, I thought about the fact that throughout most of American history, people of color weren't allowed to read and write. It was punishable by death. If you taught someone to read or write, you could dance and do various religious rituals and things along the line, and that was okay. But reading and writing was a bridge too far. So, and it was because it was known that reading and writing was a pathway to everything. It was a pathway to knowledge. It was a pathway to changing yourself. It was a pathway to making history, as this display that I did years ago powerfully shows that. I can talk a little more about this. So books make history. Books change lives. Books, increase the literacy rate. Exactly. Everything. And practically every neighborhood in Manhattan and the city has a store. So why not home?
Absolutely.
So that's in short what I want to do.
What are you looking for? So you said space.
I'm looking for space. I'm looking for feedback, ideas. This was part of introducing myself to the people in the community, hearing their ideas, hearing their thoughts, feedback, et cetera, et cetera. So I definitely want that. I'm looking for a space. I have some folks at a space on 129 in Condon that want me to come there, but nothing has been signed yet. So I'm still looking, to make sure I have some
You're looking
options.
for funding and all that stuff.
Funding as well too. So those three things: a space, feedback, ideas, thoughts from people in the community, and funding.
So a comment is, years ago, on 125th Street, there was a so-called a bookstore called Tree of Life. That bookstore was like the biggest tree in Harlem, because it had all kinds of books there. And when they renovated, when the politicians came and put money on 25th Street, they decided that this did not need to be here anymore.
Yes.
So they never relocated it, they just got rid of it, Now, you should also check out 155th Street Sisters Bookstore. Now, they've been there for years. I've also gone there for poetry readings, poetry slams, so they sell books.
I know that.
Yeah. So that would be a good idea too. So your space, in addition to having books, you can somebody comes out with a book, Obama, it's one of his books, and somebody can read to the folks. You know what I'm saying? So that's a great.
I'll definitely be having meetings, author events, panel discussions. I want to partner with the folks at City College and Columbia to create different kinds of events based on different areas. I know there's a big science and tech area over there that I might do some events around there. There's a lot of potential to develop programming.
Okay.
One of the programs, I think I mentioned this to Victor and Dario when we first met the other day. One of the initiatives I want to do is I want to create writing workshops.
That's great. That's great.
That's a must.
It's available for everyone. I bring in authors and writing instructors that could help people look at the work that they might want to create, and it's targeted for everybody. But I'm targeted towards younger folks and for retirees and older folks.
We got stories.
Because they have stories, and that they never, put down or were able to put down because of family or work or for whatever reason. And now maybe they're retired a little older, they have some more time.
Yes.
So it will be reading clubs and book clubs and all those things, but this will be a little of a step beyond, sort of helping folks bring out the creator in them.
Every week, every week, Sandra Bookman has Here and Now on Sundays. And Cheryl Wills does her thing also on Sundays. And they both do cultural stuff. So you may want to reach out to them because every week they have folks come in. And this week, Cheryl Wills did a thing on, what's that, Lennox Terrace. And a woman that lived there was talking about the Savoy. You know, and it was like, she said there's a plaque there, but that's the only thing that remains. But you can, like you said, with the Arts and Minds folks, those folks know their stories that they can tell. Like, my mother, father, they lived there. You know, so that's two people that
They have a book? Did they have a book that they want to write? Does your mother have a book they want to write?
I'm 70 years old. I wish I was Mom a long time ago. Like, Mom, I wanted it for a little while, but Mom, you know.
They might have a manuscript they left behind.
No, they didn't. That's a long story. But they're still folks here today. True. Somebody was just saying about the Savoy, you know, I'm gonna mention no names, you know. Oh yeah, I mean, but you know, there's cultural folks that you can reach out from you know, for some inspiration and for some direction too.
Okay, Sandra Bookman, Cheryl. I know Cheryl. I've met her before.
She's fantastic. She's fantastic. So is Sandra. Both of them are fantastic. Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, it depends on the space, but it would also be nice to have a little coffee bar.
I'm thinking about that.
That attracts a lot of people.
I'm thinking about that. The space that I'm looking at, I'm kind of undecided on a coffee bar because I want the space to be book heavy. So there are a lot of different kinds of books, and a coffee bar is going to take space away
It
from that.
could, yeah.
But, you know, but it's not.
It's attractive though. So.
It's an idea, and I'm guessing.
You want to say something?
I'd like to offer, let me offer my information if I may. I love the idea of a bookstore on 145th Street for many, many years, even though and that's between Broadway and Amsterdam, closer to Broadway. There's a bookstore. I bought books and the books were expensive, but they had very good books. But I want to address opening another type of bookstore. If you open a bookstore with our new age information highway, then you might want to inquire into companies that manufacture computers and open up a computer lab. You might want to open up a study digital-wise that with the antiquated library going out, that you might be able to, just because you're a nonprofit doesn't mean that you do not profit.
Well, this would be a profit.
This is what I'm offering. If you open it up with your Wi-Fi, you know, a little coffee, a little whatever, however you want to dress that. But it will also will allow you to interface with the colleges that are nearby, and college students can also come in who may not be able to afford to buy all books, may access their text at that location.
So
this is
computer lab
out of the computer.
A computer lab, okay.
But they generally, the only kind of problem with that is they get so infatuated with the computer screens that it's really decreasing literacy. That's what we found. Years.
No, I was saying, for all the list of like power educators and stuff, why don't you just do a small event, get them there first, get a list of them there, and you should be able to get your donors all in one room. It wouldn't cost you almost nothing. Get a nice little place like the Renaissance, the Victoria. That's just an example, and let people walk around in some lavish stuff. Get them back into the nostalgia of New York with the Percy Suttons and how Adam Clayton Powell and them used to do, like Alhambra ballrooms and stuff like that. All the Renaissance Victoria. And go in there, y'all can have a little dinner. You can pay for your own meal. That doesn't cost more, it's $10, $15. But get all these big names and other people like us that'll come and support, and everybody, and get the networking.
I'd love to do that. I love the funding.
I don't think it costs the funding. I think you just need to get a list of those to come to a place, that's a place to eat. That's like we all go to Dallas BBQs and have some honey chicken wings.
Yeah, I like those.
I did a cancer awareness day with my wife. I mean,
Right, I like
60
those.
people.
Those honey chicken
We
wings.
brought them, you know.
Yeah, oh, thank you.
Where is your wife? Oh.
Oh.
I'm gonna
Oh, you're-
girl.
Okay.
I'm there.
Well, thank you for coming and letting us know what they, and please stay in touch. I will be here every second, the first Tuesday, unless, the first Monday is a holiday, so we don't do it then right after, like Labor Day or whatever, we do it the week after.
Okay.
You can also come to the youth education.
And,
Yeah, I'm gonna come to a
yeah, so
couple other committees. Yes. Does anyone else have questions or comments?
No,
thank you.
thank you so much.
And make sure, yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love you.
Man, before I close this meeting, would you like to say something? You all right today? Cause I wanna make sure.
I'm all right.
I am so happy that you.
All right.
All right, I'm so happy that you are here and you come on a regular basis, okay? All right, so we're gonna move along on the agenda.
I'm closing.
We can just about, any new, the new business is
I
done.
Happy birthday.
Hold on, I'll hold in a few minutes. The new business is the resource fair. Hold on a minute, okay? And the old business is none, right? No old business?
I just wanted to, like I said, I do want to make a motion that we involve ourselves as the action committee to find out what's going on at 2-4 St. Nicholas Place.
Okay.
Need to get a date, we need to do a field trip,
And we
like I
need
was
a field
mentioning.
trip
We need
and
to go up there.
Politicians,
Yes.
Al
Taylor was
Wait a
there.
minute, some of your, the tenants should have, been proactive and did rent strike. Cause if that man is not doing what, like, so all that, the building, of course, from me, I'm 405, then when they finished, 405, they went to a condo. So the few tenants that I know from there from years, right, so they would have bought them out at $100,000, that's no money. Cause you know, you paying $4,000 a month for rent, you ain't got like 3, 5, 4 months, you ain't got no place. So the man just.
It's a very nice building.
I know,
So they had no reason to withhold their rent.
But if the elevator, you said the elevator was shabby
And
and
it kept breaking
the
down.
services was, but see, I bet you that there's gonna come some lawsuits after this, but
Yes.
you know, that. But,
And I actually am standing in representative of the tenants of 2-4 St. Nicholas Place.
very good.
Okay.
I love advocates. I love my advocates. Can I take a motion to close?
I'd like to make a motion that we close it.
Okay, and second?
Second.
Okay. All right. Thank you all. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all. Oh, Tony, could you put your information in the